Revelation 5. And I saw in the right hand of him that sat on the throne a book written within and on the backside, sealed with 7 seals. And I saw a strong angel proclaiming with a loud voice, Who is worthy to open the book and to loose the seals thereof? And no man in heaven nor in earth, neither under the earth, was able to open the book, neither to look thereon. And I wept much, because no man was found worthy to open and to read the book, neither to look thereon. And one of the elders saith unto me, Weep not. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the Root of David, failed to open the book, and to loose the 7 seals thereof. And I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne and of the 4 beasts, and in the midst of the elders stood a lamb as it had been slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God sent forth into all the earth. And he came and took the book out of the right hand of him that sat upon the throne. And when he had taken the book, the 4 beasts and 24 elders fell down before the Lamb, having every one of them harps and golden vials full of odors, which are the prayers of saints. And they sang a new song, saying, Thou art worthy to take the book and to open the seals thereof. For thou wast slain, and hast redeemed us to God by thy blood out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation, and hast made us unto our God kings and priests, that we shall reign on the earth. And I beheld, and I heard the voice of the angels round about the throne, and the beasts, and the elders, and the number of them was 10,000 times 10,000 and thousands of thousands, saying with a loud voice, Worthy is the Lamb that was slain to receive power and riches and wisdom and strength and honor and glory and blessing. And every creature which is in heaven and on the earth and under the earth, and such as are in the sea, and all that are in them, heard I saying, Blessing and honor and glory and power be unto him that sitteth upon the throne, and unto the Lamb, forever and ever. And the 4 beasts said, Amen. And the 24 elders fell down and worshipped him that liveth forever and ever.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Bakakwadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers, and peace and blessings, salutations to the hopeful lake out there pushing his word in truth and in sincerity across the 4 winds in the name of Yahweh Bashem Shah. Pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful leg, the believers, the listeners who have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Shah. All right, and what I want to get into today, this morning, is dealing with, a morning news and prophecy, dealing with the small hats catching hell. All right, because you have, wildfires, going ablaze, over there in the land of Israel. All right, those small hats catching hell. There's many, theories of what happened. We know the devil, is always, has his hands in the mix, doing some type of psyops or, trying to set something up, some type of propaganda, and the story can go many ways. But ultimately, we know that the Lord, all right, is getting ready to judge these devils. All right. And as we see things in the spirit, Okay, as we watch and we look at these things happening, and we take these things in the spirit, ultimately the Lord is getting ready to judge in the earth, man. Okay, this is a sign. All right, no matter how the fire started. Okay, we understand that there's great judgment coming from Esau, Edom. All right, and it's going to involve all right a lot of fire. Okay, especially over here in America and in the land of Israel where those imposters are. Okay, so let's go here. Let's start off here. There's the book of Isaiah 13 and 11. It says, "And I will punish the world for their evil." All right, and the world is being ran by Esau, Edom. Okay, and amongst Esau, Edom, who do you have? Amalek. All right, that's the chief. Okay, of the nations, man. Okay, and this wicked society, okay, is ran and orchestrated by Esau, Edom. All right, and mainly those of Amalek. Okay, and it says, "In the wicked for their iniquity, and I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease, and I will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible." Man, so we're in the time, all right, where the Lord, okay, is finna lay pride down in the earth, man. He's finna call pride to cease, man, because not only is the devil wicked, he's the pinnacle of pride in the earth. There's no one more proud than Esau, Edom. And of Esau, you have Amalek, man. And these devils are extremely proud, man, that they're ruling a wicked society. You know, this is Esau's desire is to rule a society that's anti-Messiah, that's anti-righteousness, man. Okay, but what we're about to see is that there is a judgment for pride. There is a judgment for wickedness in the earth, man. All right, and Esau, Edom has made it to that point, okay, of being judged. All right, um, if a brother could, I believe that's Job, um, Job 21, um, verses 29 through 31. Because I'm gonna get ready to cue up this video. I don't know if a brother at work or not. But if a brother could, I believe that Joel 20, um, make sure. And I might get it real quick since I'm here. Yeah, we'll go to the video. Joel 21. Uh, yeah, Joel 21 verses 29, verse 30, and verse 31. Baba Shah. Yeah, in verse 31, bro. The water, bro. So I'll go ahead and segue to the video since the brother doing that for me. All right, so you go here. Mr. Brother Beyond Yashala. All right, this is Job 21 and 29. Said, "Have you not asked them to go by the way, or do you not know their tokens, man? Or the tokens is a sign or proof." Okay, so as we see how these devils rule the earth, all right, it's the proof that he is the wicked that the Bible speaks of. There's proof that he's Esau. Okay, the scriptures say the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. Well, who dominates the earth? The wicked, Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. All right, mainly, all right, the sect of Amalek. Okay, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. So that's proof of who's all right in power, the wicked, because he has the earth. Okay, Esau said he will rule by the sword. He will have the fatness of the earth, and he will rule by the sword. Well, who's doing that? Who rules the earth? All right, through the sword. Okay, who has peacekeeping troops? You see, this devil, man. So the way that this man is, the way that he rules, he fulfills all the prophecies that lets us know that he is the wicked, man. Okay, and this man, all right, as you read verse 30, Job 21 and 30 said that the wicked is reserved, all right, to the day of destruction, that they shall be brought forth to the day of wrath, man. So the wicked is reserved for the day of destruction. Okay, and we're in that time of destruction, man, and we see the build up to this man system being destroyed, his rulership being snatched, and his ass going to captivity. man. The day of the Lord's anger is here. Okay, and we can see that now everything is working against this man. There was a time when everything worked in this man's favor because prophecy was on his side. Now prophecy is working against this devil, and he's working against prophecy, man. Okay, he's kicking against the pricks, but it's written for him to do that. So ultimately, he's working all right within the will of Yahweh Shemal Shah. Okay, so we're in that time reserved just for the devil to be judged, man. The Lord has allowed this man to build up, to be untouched, to be unjudged, to be proud. Okay, for this moment in time that we're in now. Okay, and you read on, it said Job 21:31. It said, "Who shall declare his way to his face, and who shall repay him for what he have done?" And the Lord is going to do it, and we're declaring it to his face that the Lord is getting ready to judge this man. Okay, we're declaring it to this man's face daily that the Lord is going to reach out and judge this man in this time, man. Okay, the Lord raised up the prophets to be bold. Okay, as bold as lions, as the scriptures say. You know, Wisdom of Solomon, 5:1. Okay, then shall the righteous man stand in boldness against those that oppress them and made no accounts of their labor. Okay, and you're seeing that happen in real time. And the one that's going to repay him for what he have done, the Heavenly Father is going to send back Yahweh Shah, you know, to execute full judgment on the devil, man. Okay, so let's go over here to some news. What's happening in the land of Israel? You know, wildfires, have been devastating Israel. So we just read into it, and we get these things in the spirit. And there's many, scenarios, many things that could have happened. These devils, they'll sabotage themselves. They'll sacrifice their own people, so they can play victim. Okay, this could be an authentic, civil unrest, amongst those small heads because they're divided. Okay, one thing we know for sure that these devils are, divided. Okay, so there's a lot of infighting, and at the end of the day, all right, they're just looking tacky as hell, man. No matter the who started it, the fact that the outcome is just tacky as hell, man. How these devils are moving. Okay, so let's play this, and we'll come back.
Hey, it's been absolutely chaotic in Israel with these devastating wildfires tearing through the region, and every attempt to get them under control has just fallen flat. We're talking about massive blazes ripping through illegal settlements like Ashdod, Masuot Yitzhak, Shafir, Kafar Warburg, Eshtaol, and other spots, leaving destruction in their wake. The combination of roaring flames and relentless winds is making life hell across homes and landscapes into ash. If you check out the latest maps, you'll see something wild, around 29 fires burning all at once. But here's the kicker. These fires are mysteriously avoiding predominantly Palestinian neighborhoods, which has got people all over the country raising their eyebrows. The Israeli authorities are pointing fingers, accusing innocent folks of starting the fires, but the real talk? This could tie back to deeper issues like wildfires and climate change, which have been a massive headache for Israel for years. Even Yair Netanyahu, the son of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, took to social media to slam Israeli officials for dropping the ball on this crisis, calling out their negligence in handling the environment. As we were putting this video together, fresh blazes sparked near Meselat Zion, right by Beit Shemesh, and strong winds quickly pushed the flames westward before they swung eastward, making it impossible to predict where they'll hit next. The situation's so bad that major roads like Route 1, the main artery connecting Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, and Route 3 have been shut down all day, and they're still closed as we speak. Over 10 illegal settlements have had to be evacuated, despite firefighters and emergency crews working around the clock to contain the inferno, which, honestly, is showing no signs of slowing down. Things got so intense that Channel 12, Israel's biggest propaganda TV station, yep, the one notorious for spinning lies about Gaza and pushing the occupation's narrative, had to evacuate its studio in Navy Lawn right in the middle of a broadcast. That's the first in its history, and it's a big deal. Outlets like Channel 12 love to come after channels like ours, the ones calling out Israeli atrocities in Gaza and Palestine, by petitioning to silence us. The Mossad and IDF have so much pull that videos like this one get buried by algorithms. But here's in. If you hit like and share this video like crazy, we break the suppression hearing. Around 5,000 acres of land around Jerusalem have been scorched to the ground. That includes about 3,000 acres of forest, with Canada Park near Beit Shemesh taking the hardest hit. As the day dragged on, the fires kept spreading eastward, forcing police and emergency services to order evacuations in communities like Neve Ilan, Shoresh, Nataf, and Yad Hashmona. That brought the total number of evacuated settlements to 10. On a small, bright note, residents of Eshtaol and Mishma Ayalon, which were cleared out earlier, got the green light to return home not long after, but the situation is still dire for everyone else. The scale of this disaster is overwhelming, and it's hitting these areas harder than anyone could have expected, with no clear end in sight. You see, there's something the Israeli authorities aren't being straight about, and it's got people whispering. They're not telling their own citizens that these fires might be a wake-up call.
We're Phoenix Energy, a family-owned oil company focused on unleashing American oil from North Dakota and Montana. We've already sold over 2.9 million barrels.
Either a brutal consequence of ignoring climate change or, as some are saying, a divine smackdown for Israel's ruthless military operations in Gaza. Posts on X are buzzing with this idea, especially since the fires are raging hardest in occupied areas and illegal settlements, sparing Palestinian neighborhoods. That's giving the argument some serious legs, and it's spreading like wildfire around the globe. To top it all off, there are reports of sandstorms brewing in the Negev desert, threatening to choke cities like Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, and other occupied parts of what's historically Palestinian land. The 1-2 punch of fires and sandstorms is sending a chilling message. Nature might be hitting back. It's worth remembering a post from Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, about 2 weeks ago after horrific reports of mass killings in a Gaza refugee camp. He warned that those responsible for slaughtering women and children would face a natural punishment from God. Whether you buy into that or not, the timing of these disasters is raising some serious questions. So, some folks on X are calling this whole thing Operation True Promise 3, tying it to those earlier missile strikes Iran launched, which they named True Promise 1 and 2, after what they saw as Israel's provocations on their soil, specifically attacks Iran labeled as terrorism. The chatter online paints a chaotic picture. Massive fires tearing through military bases and heavy zones in central and southern occupied Palestine, completely throwing operations in Gaza into disarray. These aren't just small brush fires, they're raging infernos that have forced Israel to declare a state of emergency. Firefighters and authorities are out there, battling to get things under control, while hospitals and even Catholic monasteries have had to evacuate. Reports keep trickling in about new fires popping up across the country. And in some areas, people are describing scenes straight out of an apocalypse, smoke choking the air, landscapes blackened, and communities scrambling to safety. What makes these fires even wilder is their timing. They hit right at this pivotal moment in the history of Israel's occupation of Palestine. You see, the occupiers were gearing up for their big annual celebrations, the ones marking what they call the establishment of Israel, but what Palestinians see as the start of their dispossession. Specifically, the fires kicked off just as organizers were prepping for the Independence Day torchlighting ceremony, a huge symbolic event. But on Wednesday, they had to pull the plug because the winds were whipping up, fueling these fast-spreading brush fires in the hills around occupied Jerusalem. It wasn't just the ceremony that got derailed. Families planning to visit cemeteries for Memorial Day
Yeah, so these devils getting ready to celebrate, the so-called, annual, celebration that they will have of them establishing, themselves in their land, all right, which was not by prophecy of the real Israelites, but of the false Israelites being established, man, which we're going to get that, okay? And this shows you that these are not the true people, okay? And this shows you that these are not All right, the true people, brothers could. Let's put that Jeremiah. All right, let's get the prophecy to show. Okay, that there is no way that those are the true people in the land if all these things are happening. Okay, when you get the book of Jeremiah, all right, I believe it's chapter Jeremiah chapter 30 and verse 10. Yeah, Jeremiah chapter 30 and verse 10. Let's also get Deuteronomy um is it 30? Might be 33. Let me see. Yeah, if a brother could get Deuteronomy 33 and 28 and Bible Shah, if a brother could get that in the NLT, you know, Deuteronomy 33 and 28 in the NLT. You know, because this is these are not the people. Okay. These are not the people promised to be in that land. All right, the true people promised to be in that land, but the prophecy does speak about imposters, man. Okay, so let's get this here. All right, it's Jeremiah 30 and 10. It says, "Therefore, fear thou not, O my servant Jacob, said the Lord, neither be dismayed, O Israel, for I will save thee from afar." Okay, I will save thee from afar. All right. Uh, uh, it says, "And thy seed from the land of their captivity." So we will be delivered from all the lands of our captivity, man. All right, these people pretty much just migrated on their own. All right, we will be delivered in glorious, okay, fashion, man. What's that is that Jeremiah 16 and 14? We will be delivered in glorious fashion in chariots, man. Okay, not by migrating, from Europe, okay, from Germany, okay, into that land, by orders of the British, Parliament. Okay, now it will be a glorious return to that land for the true people. All right, and it will be under the Messiah. Okay, but reading on, it says, "And thy seed from the land of their captivity, and Jacob shall return and shall be in rest and be quiet, and none shall make him afraid." Okay, so these devils are under threat of of Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran, the Houthis. Okay, the resistant groups in Syria and in Iraq. Okay, so here it is. They have all these enemies, plus they have internal strife. Whatever this is, man, this could be from the Lord. Well, what you know, everything is from the Lord. All right. So no matter how it happened, it's from the Lord. The Lord caused this to happen, man, and the timing of it. You know, the timing that they do these things, man. Okay. It says, and be quiet, and none shall make them afraid. And then you go here, okay, to the book of Deuteronomy 33 and 28. It says, "So Israel," this is brother beyond Yashala, "so Israel will live in safety." In their previous precept was a student of Yahweh Shai, the while to you, I can tune in, add to the screen. Well, this is Deuteronomy 33 and 28. It says, "So Israel will live in safety, prosperous, Jacob in security, in a land of grain and new wine, while heavens drop down dew." And now, what do you see? You see chemicals being dropped to put out fires, man. Okay, ain't gonna be no fires in the land of Israel when the true people are back in their land. That's not safety and prosperous, man. Okay, you look at this video. Look at this guy here, man. That's why I rewind. You look at this little chubby, small.
Ripping up, fueling these fast-spreading brush fires in the hills around occupied Jerusalem. It wasn't just the
Look at this nigga, man. All right. All them goddamn clothes on going into the summer, man. You see? But nah, man, this is not a people that's prosperous and in safety, man. Okay. You see? Little chubby small hat, man. These people are finished, man. All right, making mad dashes, man. Then they got hypersonic missiles coming in from Yemen to add on to this. Okay. The constant threat of Iran, and what they're doing, Hezbollah sitting up there on the north. So you have all these factors, okay, that has nothing to do with peace, man, but the exact opposite, man. War, chaos, and dysfunction, man. Showing you that those are not the true people in the land. All right, they don't fulfill the prophecy of the true Israelites, but they do fulfill prophecies, which we're going to get in Ezekiel 36. So I'm gonna let a little bit more of this play, and then we're gonna segue to another video.
Ceremony that got derailed, families planning to visit cemeteries for Memorial Day, another deeply emotional occasion, found their plans upended too. The hills, usually alive with solemn gatherings or festive lights, were instead cloaked in smoke and danger, leaving everyone on edge. For centuries, this land, sacred, contested, and achingly beautiful, has been home to a delicate dance of coexistence. Arab farmers tilled the soil, Christian monks prayed in ancient monasteries, and Jewish families, many of Sephardic or Mizrahi descent, lived alongside them in stone-walled villages. Markets buzzed with the smells of cardamom, fresh bread, and roasted coffee, where people bartered and shared stories under olive trees. But in the late 1800s, a shift started far away in the chilly towns of Eastern Europe.
הייתה מלכות טורקיה, והשכנים הכי טובים שלנו היו הפלסטינים, הסתדרנו איתם טוב מאוד. היו מניקות שהולכות אחת לשנייה, מבשלים אחד עם השני, היו חיים פה בשלום. מי שהפר את השלום שהיה פה, זה רק הציונות עם הדעות שלהם. הם אמרו שאנחנו ניקח את האדמות, הם שלנו.
These ain't the people, man. All right, they're through. Okay, look at these guys, man. But at the end of the day, all right, like we're saying, the Lord, is getting to the point to where His fire, all right, His wrath is going to manifest through fire, man. Okay, and we constantly see this in prophecy, man. Okay, so let's go here. Let's segue real quick. I got another video. Then we get a couple more prophecies. And then the brother can put that too. Because this is a prelude to the true judgment that's coming. This is just a sign. You in the spirit, you can see, the fire, the timing of it. This is just a sign of the judgment that's brewing for these devils, man. All right, because we know the judgment is gonna be nuclear. Okay, these fires now, they cause, civil unrest. Okay, but what's to come? All right, is going to cause, all right, devastation. Okay, this place is going to be desolate. All right, and the Lord really going to show His wrath, all right, upon these devils through fire. Now, let's play this. Then the brother, if they could, put that in Baruch chapter 4. Those last, I think verses like 32 to the end. Going into the miserable are the cities. All the way into the end to us being gathered. Just put that on the back burner to end out with. So you go here, you got this guy, and he goes on a rant. Let's see. Yeah, he's gonna go on a rant, all right, because what's happening, these devils are used to everybody running to them, and Esau loves to play victim, so this could be a sabotage for him to try to play victim. He can spin it. It's gonna be interesting to see how these devils spin it. All right, and that's when you know what the propaganda is about how they try to spin it. That was the intent the whole time. So we'll see how these devils try to spin it. But one thing they're used to is the people, running to them, and hugging them and picking them up, as they play victim. But see, that's not the narrative anymore. Okay, and we're going to get into that as well. But that's not the narrative for these devils to the world is looking at them as the victim. Okay, and this rant, all right, this guy's going to go on a rant against these small hats, man. So let's let this play.
Right, so today just happens to be Israel's 77th Independence Day. They choose to celebrate it on the 1st of May, you see, rather than on the 15th when Israel actually gained independence.
Now, real quick, remember we've been going into, all right, the spirit of enlightenment, which, so they celebrate their independence, all right, Israeli independence on May 1st. Okay, now what does that line up with? Okay, I'll show you that the left hand, all right, their foundation is the left hand. All right, now you go here to this is Wikipedia. It says the Illuminati, all right, plural of Latin illuminatus, which means what? Enlightened. And we've been going into the age of enlightenment when this man brought satanic ideology, to, all right, the mainstream, to the forefront, that enlightenment age. All right, that's where you get this modern way of thinking, the worship of self, the worship of science, okay, above, traditional faith. Okay, it says, and you can go into it, just look up enlightenment age and read into it. It says, is a name given to several groups, both real and fictitious. Historically, the name usually refers to Bavarian Illuminati and Enlightenment. Okay, and you see here these Edomites, an Enlightenment era secret society. All right, it says the Age of Enlightenment was an intellectual or philosophical movement taking place in Europe from the late 17th century to the nearly 19th century. The Enlightenment, which valued knowledge gained through rationalism and empiricism, was concerned with a range of social ideologies. Okay, and these devils began to question the Most High, question, the creation story, just begin to question everything. Okay, it says, an Enlightenment era secret society founded on May 1st, 1776. And what happened 2 months later in that same year of 1776, July 4th? All right, America's independence. Okay, and America was the place where the elites pretty much had, was able to come over here because a lot of their ideology was rejected in certain parts, in the East. Okay, but they was able to come to the West, all right, and open up shop. They was able to come to the West and go at it, man. They was able to have their way over here, man, because this was a, this wasn't, under the authority of those ancient governments of the East. Okay, so the West, what they call a new world, they was able to come over here and really embed, this enlightenment doctrine, okay, within, all right, America, man, and it gradually got to this point to what we see now. Okay, you see, so this whole thing, about this May 1st, man, goes back, all right, to the Illuminati. That's why these small hats, like the guy said, they actual day of independence, so-called independence, was May 15th, but they celebrate May 1st. Okay, because they're in line with this enlightenment, satanic, all right, doctrine, okay, of the elites, man. Okay, just to put that out there. Now, when you go back to the video, let him play for a minute, then we get a few more. All right, we'll make it super long.
Happens to be Israel's 77th Independence Day. They choose to celebrate it on the 1st of May, you see, rather than on the 15th when Israel actually gained independence, but which is frankly better known as the anniversary of the Nakba, when Israel drove out tens of thousands of Palestinians, basically confirming that their conduct, as we've seen it in all too graphic detail these past 18 months, literally started on day one. Therefore, it struck me as somewhat prescient that the day they celebrate their independence, that their country is literally on fire, and on fire by their own hands at that. as fires started by the insane settlers of the West Bank, as if Louis Theroux's documentary hadn't done a good enough job of proving just how mad they are, burn out of control, blew back into Israeli-controlled territory and now surrounding Jerusalem. The day they celebrate their independence in the name of Zionism, their divine right to the land, as so many of them see it, and they've literally set it on fire. The people who call themselves God's chosen ones now fleeing their promised land and realizing it might not have been so promised to them after all. Well, they can always go back to Brooklyn or Miami, I suppose, can't they?
Ready to take the next step in your education journey? At the University of Southern Mississippi, you can earn a degree.
Right. So as wildfires rage across the West Bank and into Israel, heading towards Jerusalem, consuming forests, parks, and homes, the irony is inescapable that these fires, according to some, the largest in the nation's history, were not an act of nature, but the direct result of extremist Israeli settlers setting Palestinian agricultural land ablaze. As the flames spread uncontrollably, they then moved on towards Israel, and now the same state that has systematically bombed, starved, and denied aid to Gaza has now been pleading for international assistance. The very thing it has denied for weeks and continues to deny to Gaza. And the timing is almost poetic, or some might say karma, or even divine intervention maybe, because these fires have erupted to coincide with Israel's 77th Independence Day, a day meant to celebrate the nation's founding, now being one of scenes of destruction of it. The very destruction they have wrought on others for 18 months now, and of course long before that. Therefore, the inferno serves as something of a metaphor for a state.
And then it's on the 77th anniversary, which 7 goes into completion, man. Okay? And these devils, they've reached their end. All right. Now this guy, he's saying the story that he's spinning the narrative that, these Israeli extremists, wanted to start fires on Palestinian agricultural lands, but the wind caused the fire, to burn, okay, in only places of small hats, man. The wind, pretty much drove the fire, and it could be, man, that could be very well what happened, man. These extremists, okay, these little small hats, these little deviants, because as you have, aid to Gaza, being blocked, okay, people are being starved out in Gaza. So now outside of Gaza, you have these Israeli extremists, they could have been, trying to be deviant against, those Palestinians, agriculture and farmlands, starting fires, and now they shit on fire, So that could be a play, man. But we know the Lord's, all right, is orchestrating something with these devils, man, and we know what it leads to, man. And this is just a small, minute prelude to the real judgment that's coming, all right, to these devils, man. And now these devils are screaming for humanitarian aid, and these devils are getting all the aid. These small hats are getting aid immediately, all right, from these Western nations, man. And the hell, these Palestinians, all right, both of them, it's good that the Lord got them Xing each other out, man, because neither one of them belongs there, man. Okay? Let's just play a little more.
State consumed by its own violence, hypocrisy, and disregard for international law. This disaster is also a political, moral, and deeply symbolic failure for reasons I will shortly go into. It exposes the consequences of decades of Israeli policies, land theft, arson, ecological mismanagement, all now rebounding upon itself. As Israel begs for help while continuing to blockade to Gaza, where normally we wouldn't ask questions for such a thing, it would be given without thinking. But in this case, it's impossible to avoid the question of whether any assistance be given without the condition that Palestinians receive the same. Withholding Israeli assistance so we can assist Gaza and the West Bank too. This is the only way we can get aid into them. And as the fires burn, you really cannot help but wonder, given Zionists' justification to do what they do, and that is if Israelis truly are God's chosen people, why do they now flee their own promised land, consumed by flames of their own making? The wildfires did not begin by accident. Eyewitness reports and investigations confirm that extremist Israeli settlers deliberately set fire to Palestinian farmland in the West Bank, a tactic long used to terrorize and displace Palestinians, but it's backfired horribly on this occasion. Settlers allegedly torched crops and fields near Jerusalem, which have ignited a chain reaction that has quickly spread out of control due to the dry conditions and the strong winds. For decades, Israeli settlers have engaged in systematic arson attacks against most notably Palestinian olive groves, iconic as these are, but also as acts of economic and cultural warfare, given the olive tree's significance in Palestinian agriculture. In their place, the Jewish National Fund has for decades been planting vast forests of non-native pine trees. I dare say they remind these people of home, where they are actually from, which obviously isn't Palestine. But pine trees are highly flammable and poorly suited to the region's arid climate. These forests were not just ecological projects, but political ones as well, beginning as an attempt to erase all the evidence of the Nakba, that 1948 ethnic cleansing of Palestinians, and likely, as I said before, why Israel probably celebrates independence on the 1st of May rather than the actual date of the 15th, by covering destroyed villages with European-style woodlands. The Jewish National Fund often names trees for people who have stood up for Israeli interests as well, so them burning down as well now says a lot for that too. Now, those same trees are fueling catastrophic wildfires which burn out of control, which is also something of a grim irony for a state that has been built on displacement from its inception. Even as Israel calls for international help, its government continues to block humanitarian aid to Gaza, of course, where some 2 million people face starvation, disease, and ongoing relentless bombardment. The same week that Israeli firefighters are struggling to contain the blazes around Jerusalem, Netanyahu's government defied International Court of Justice orders to allow food and medicine into the Strip. So really, as they beg for help now, where normally it would be given unthinkingly, should we not stop and think, for the sake of those in Gaza for a moment, as to whether we do help Israel unconditionally? Countries like the US, Greece, Cyprus, and France have already sent firefighting aircraft and personnel to assist Israel. Yet if the international community is willing to mobilize so quickly for Israeli civilians, why have they failed to all this time for Palestinians? Where were the planes for Gaza? Oh, silly me, they're flying reconnaissance missions for Israel from RAF Akrotiri, aren't they? Any aid to Israel should be contingent on it lifting the blockade of Gaza. Otherwise, the world is complicit in Israel's double standards here, one where Israeli lives are prioritized whilst Palestinian suffering is ignored. A disaster that Israeli apartheid and second-class citizenry has seen them bring on themselves at that. But rather than take responsibility, Israeli officials have been resorting to absurd conspiracy theories and deflection. National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir, for it is he, because of course it is, who oversees the fire department as part of his brief as it happens, downplayed this crisis, dismissing the fires as typical for this time of year. Really? Benjamin Netanyahu's birth of a son, Yair Netanyahu, perhaps that Miami sun has got to his brain too much, baselessly accused the Israeli left of starting the fires to cancel Independence Day celebrations. Others, including far-right lawmakers, floated the idea of terrorism as the cause, which appears to be nothing but a transparent attempt to absolve settlers of blame. And again, why should aid come to them unconditionally when they won't allow it to come for others? And are still trying to find ways to blame those others. Netanyahu himself claimed that 18 suspects had been arrested in relation to these arson attacks, but police sources have revealed that only 3 have actually been detained. So what gives there? What's the truth of the matter? Need to seize a few Palestinians to pin the blame on, do we, to make up the numbers to 18? Who'd put it past them? Why lie about the numbers? What are the actual numbers? Are both sides lying? What is the truth? It smacks of a government more interested in managing optics and holding extremist settlers accountable, though. The scale of the disasters, aside from the moral and ethical arguments surrounding assistance for Israel, highlighted Israel's systemic and political failures as well. Over 163 firefighting teams have been deployed, battling flames across nearly 3,000 acres. The army has been called in, and a national emergency has been declared. Yet experts have been warning for 18 years that Israel's fire preparedness was dangerously inadequate.
So yeah, you had that devil, you had that guy going in, okay, and what's happening, that victim card that Israel is used to playing, all right, well, they can't play it anymore. You still have the simple, that's going to believe anything that they say, man, but on the global scale, the devil is being called out. Okay, now this is Isaiah 32:5. It says, in that day, ungodly fools would not be heroes. Scoundrels would not be respected. Okay, so we're seeing, all right, the spirit that's in the earth, All right, these ungodly fools are not being able to play the hero because they're used to being able to play the victim. Okay, and then when they go do their wickedness, they get to play the hero. You know, they get to play the victim that's defending themselves. Okay, so that allows them to be the hero. All right, in the media, but see, that narrative is played out. You see, that narrative is dead. You see, scoundrels would not be respected. Now they're being called out, man. Okay, you see, and this is the devil. Look, listen, it said verse 6. All right, and see, going back, have thou not seen their tokens, man? How these devils rule the earth is a token of who they are, man. Okay, their character, their rulership style is a token of who they are, man. Their acts of wickedness. Isaiah 32:6, for fools speak foolishness and make evil plans. They practice ungodliness and spread false teachings about the Lord Yahweh Bashem Al Shai. Okay? That's why you have the Talmud, all right, which has nothing to do with the Bible, man. All right, goes back to ancient Babylonian teaching, man. Okay, but they use their book as if it's a book that's attached to the Lord. Okay, that is a part of the teachings of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, man. Them claiming to be us, man. That's false teaching, man. They push their propaganda as if they're us. That's false teaching, man. Okay, they deprive the hungry of food and give no water to the thirsty, man. And that's literal and spiritual, man. Okay, because under this man's rulership, truth has been suppressed, man. Okay, and also, you know, the devil deprives, all right, the earth of resources, man. Hey, certain people of resources, man. Okay, this is the devil that the Bible speaks of, man. All right, but he can't play, you know, the victim hero, all right, role in the movie anymore, man. He's been looked at as a villain. There's great inquisitions, all right, that's being made against the devil, man. All right, so let's go from there. Okay, so let's get this in the book of Ezekiel. Then we'll close with that Baruch. All right. So let's get this in Ezekiel 36. All right, this is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 36. All right. 36:1, it says, also thou son of man, prophesy unto the mountains of Israel, and say, ye mountains of Israel, hear the word of the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Al Shai. Thus said the Lord, because the enemy have said against you, aha, even the ancient high places are ours in possession, man. And this is what these devils did in 1948. You know, they began to possess our ancient places, man, our ancient inheritance, man. You know, that the Lord promised to our forefathers, man. Okay, therefore prophesy and say, thus said the Lord power, because they have made you desolate and swallowed you up on every side, that ye might be a possession unto the residue of the heathen, and you are taken up in the lips of talkers and are an infamy of the people, man. And now our land is associated with wickedness because of these devils, man. You know, they stained the reputation of our land with their wickedness, man, claiming to be us, man. You know, it's like someone takes your identity, okay, and gets all these, you know, charges and felonies and under your identity, man. You know, there's all this scamming and, you know, scheming under your identity, man. This is what these devils have done. Okay, verse 4. It said, therefore, ye mountains of Israel, hear the word of the Lord power. Thus said the Lord power to the mountains, and to the hills, and to the rivers, and to the valleys, to the desolate waste, and the cities that are forsaken, which become a prey and a derision to the residue of the heathen that are round about, man. So the Lord is prophesying to the land, to the actual land, okay? Because the Lord is going to do a mighty work in that land, all right? You know, that because our land is suffering, all right, under, you know, being occupied by these goddamn heathens, man, these small heads and All right, these Palestinians, all of them finna get their ass out of there, man. Okay, therefore, thus said the Lord, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen. And see, we're just seeing a small prelude of that fire that the Lord, okay, is ultimately going to bring, all right, to the heathen, man. All right, then he singles out who? And against all Idumea. Okay, because in this third world war, man, Iran and Russia, all right, are going to flatten, okay, the state of Israel, man. It's going to be completely obliterated, man. All right, and it's going to be built from scratch by these heathens, man, for us. Okay, it's going to that Trump talking about he want to make Gaza, you know, the Atlantic City of the Mediterranean. No, that land is going to be made a paradise for its true people. Okay, which have appointed my land into their possession with the joy of all their heart, with despiteful minds to cast it out as a prey. Prophesy therefore concerning the land of Israel, and say unto the mountains, and to the hills, and to the rivers, and to the valleys, thus said the Lord power, behold, I have spoken in my jealousy and in my fury, because ye have borne, all right, the shame of the heathen. So the Lord is getting ready to speak in his wrath and in his jealousy, man. All right, it's going to be way more devastating when the Lord speaks in his fury, man. But we're seeing a token of what's to come. Okay, and everything that these devils are doing is going to work against them, man. Okay, said, thus said the Lord power, I have lifted up my hand, which is Yahweh Shai. Surely the heathen that are about you, they shall bear their shame, man, because when Yahweh Shai comes, okay, hey, it's over. Okay, it's over, man, and he's going to wreak havoc in the earth, man. You know, you best believe, and Yahweh Shai is going to add to that fire in the land of Israel, all right, and over here in America, man. Okay, verse 8, it said, but ye mountains of Israel, ye shall shoot forth your branches and yield your fruit to my people of Israel, for they are at hand to come. The true people are at hand to come. Okay, this is why the Lord has awakened us and is building us up in righteousness, man, because we're being prepared to go back to that land, man, forever, man, to be planted there forever. Okay, and that land, hey, that fire is gonna, you know, it's gonna cleanse that land. Okay, and it's gonna activate that land, man. You know, to where it's gonna shoot forth abundance. It's gonna be plush. We're going back to a plush Israel, not that dusty, all right, you know, beat down, all right, land that they got over there now, man. Okay, well, it's going to be plush, all right, for the true Israelites, man. Okay, verse 9, it said, for behold, I am for you and will turn unto you, and ye shall be tilled and sown, and I will multiply men upon you, all the house of Israel, even all of it, and the city shall be inhabited, the way shall be builded. All right, so hey, this is a post World War III. Okay, and it's gonna be the real reconstruction era, man. You know, the reconstruction of Israel, and I will multiply upon you man and beast. All right, because the livestock is going to be what their food supply, man. All right, a lot of feasts going down when you get back in the land, man. Okay, you know, thankfulness, man, praise, and they shall increase and bring fruit, and I will settle you after your old estates, going back to the time of King David, all right, and King Solomon, with all the wealth, you know, flowed to us, man. Okay, and we were the superpower in the earth, so their status is coming back. But it says what? And I will do better unto you than at your beginnings, and ye shall know that I'm the Lord Yahweh Bashem Al Shah, man. So even better than our golden age of King David and King Solomon, the Lord's going to do us even better than that status we had back then, that wealth, that abundance, that peace that we had back then, man. You know, so yeah, I'll end it there. You know, I think the point was made. You know, Lord will, you know, you brothers, all right, and okay, you sisters was edified, all right. But yeah, man, these small heads catching hell is a beautiful thing. And it only gets worse. Okay. It only gets worse from here, man. So Lord will use edified till next time I say Shalom. Kwam Yashala, Abba, soon. Shalom.